In the songs of Westeros, chivalry is the ultimate virtue. Knights are expected to be paragons of honor, sparing the defeated and protecting the weak. But the Maesters buried a different reality deep in the archives of the Citadel. The most formidable warrior of his generation wasn't bested by a better swordsman. He was defeated by his own compassion. By 196 AC, the first Blackfyre Rebellion had fractured the Seven Kingdoms. It wasn't a skirmish between lords, but a total civil war that forced every house to choose a side. On one side stood King Daemon II, a scholar who brought Dorne into the realm through diplomacy. On the other was his legitimized half-brother, Daemon Blackfyre, a man who looked like Aegon the Conqueror reborn and carried the king's own Valyrian steel blade. If you were a lord in Westeros on that morning, your choice was between the scholar and the warrior. Leave a comment with who you would have declared for, because by the end of this battle, the very concept of the noble warrior would be dead. The two armies converged on an unnamed meadow. By the time the fighting ended, so much blood had been spilled that the site would be known forever as the Redgrass Field. Daemon Blackfyre fought with a momentum that seemed unstoppable. In his black armor, he cut through the Loyalist vanguard, his sword cleaving through shields and heavy plate as if they were parchment. The momentum slowed only when Daemon came face to face with Sir Gawain Corbray of the Kingsguard. For nearly an hour, the wider battle seemed to fade as these two engaged in a duel of Valyrian steel. Daemon eventually struck Corbray down, leaving the knight bleeding in the dirt. At that moment, the Loyalist center was buckling. A final, decisive charge would have likely shattered Daemon's army and won Daemon the Iron Throne. But instead of charging, Daemon dismounted. He ordered his men to find maesters for his fallen enemy, refusing to let an honorable foe die in the mud. He chose the code of a knight over the victory of a king. While Daemon followed the rules of the songs, his half-brother, Brandon Bloodraven Rivers, was looking for an opening. Bloodraven was a pragmatist who viewed honor as a tactical weakness to be exploited. This map shows the vulnerability created by Daemon's mercy. By stopping his advance to help Corbray, Daemon's vanguard became a stationary target in the valley, directly beneath the Weeping Ridge, where Bloodraven had positioned his archers. Bloodraven didn't call for a duel. He ordered his archers, the Raven's Teeth, to rain arrows down on the stationary rebels. He targeted Daemon's 7-year-old sons first, killing them before putting an arrow through Daemon himself. The rebel commander, Bittersteel, saw his king fall and led a desperate, rage-fueled charge up the ridge. He reached Bloodraven, and in a brutal melee, Bittersteel managed to carve out one of the sorcerer's eyes. The Loyalists capitalized on the chaos. Prince Maekar organized a dense shield wall, acting as an anvil to hold Bittersteel's counterattack. Then, Prince Baelor Breakspear arrived with Dornish and Stormland spearmen. He swung into the rebel rear, acting as the hammer. The rebels were caught between the two formations and systematically destroyed. The hammer-and-anvil maneuver proved that a disciplined, coordinated strategy was more lethal than the most heroic individual warrior. The battle ended the immediate threat to the crown. Bittersteel managed to escape across the narrow sea with the sword Blackfyre, but the rebellion as a military force was broken. King Daemon II kept his throne, but the war had shown how close the dynasty had come to collapse. To prevent a second rebellion, the crown's methods of maintaining peace began to shift. Bloodraven, the man who had prioritized the kill over the code at Redgrass Field, was given the authority to protect the realm. He didn't do this with shields, but with secrets. He built a network of informants that reached into every corner of the Seven Kingdoms. The fear of open battle was replaced by the fear of disappearance. Commoners began to whisper that the king's hand had 1,000 eyes and one. The death of Daemon Blackfyre didn't lead to a return of chivalry. It marked the moment Westeros moved away from the honor of the battlefield and into an era of state surveillance, where even a private word could be treason.